2 more sleeps. 49 hours, 7 minutes, 35, 34, 33 seconds until the 23rd MLS Cup. Will it be Atlanta United or the Portland Timbers lifting the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy? I do know that the log is in Atlanta, but they're not letting it in the stadium. No way, no how. Sorry, Timber Joey. You got to watch from the stands. Welcome to the MLS studios in New York City and MLS Cup Central. I am Andrew Wiebe. These guys, you know them well. Calen, Carr. Matt Doyle is
nice
back.
To show up today.
Yeah.
Tyler.
I'm going to have to get between these two and keep them apart. This is Taylor
Twellman,
Twellman.
by the way.
Who?
Taylor Twellman, in case you did not know.
You guys,
Yeah.
Calen's got to write down names.
We got a big show coming for you. But first, we have 2 of my favorite people here and 2 losers.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I mean, look, if we're talking MLS Cups. If we're talking MLS Cups, that's the way it is.
But you guys, strong start here.
You guys know what this week feels like.
We are.
So
We are.
You lost twice as many as I did.
less losses gets the start. That's the honor that you have. What's this week like for players?
I'm so old, I called your losses.
That's what I remember most, actually. No, I when I look back, I'm incredibly proud to have made it to 2 MLS Cups with Houston Dynamo, and those teammates and I are, didn't end the way we wanted to. And I remember losing after the first one and getting a second crack at it the next year. And Taylor called that one. I remember him and Alexi.
You scored a goal, by the way, right?
I did. But part of it was about coming in and knowing the worst that could happen. And we played a little bit more free. All the narratives were around Beckham's last game. And when I look at this matchup here, it reminds me a little bit of this Portland team where everybody's talking about Atlanta. Atlanta this, Almiron, Tata Martino. And I think this suits Savarese. I think going on the road as the underdog and coming into this, they're going to be able to play with that same spirit to be able to, maybe counteract what everybody's talking about.
It's kind of similar to your 11 and 12 MLS Cups, right? With the LA Galaxy and those names. Listen, I've lost 3 in a row, but it's still everything I think about. I remember each individual game as if it was yesterday, for better or for worse. But this is why you play. And any player that says they don't play to win a trophy or to win a championship, I would question what are your motives in a team sport. This is why you play. But MLS Cup in 2018, no matter how you slice it, it's bigger, it's better, and it's more grand. It's just a better trophy now than it was when I lost my last one in 2007. And I think a big part of it is because the home team hosting MLS Cup, there's just a little bit more to that game.
Sounds like something a loser would say. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Apologies for that one. Here's what's going down very, very soon.
Nice
That's the MLS Cup pregame show. Saturday, we're going to Atlanta. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Lineups, analysis, special guests, all the scenes, all the hoopla in Atlanta before the big game. And of course, Friday, we finish up our weekly run of MLS Cup Central with Taylor Twellman, Luis Robles, goalkeeper for the New York Red Bulls.
I didn't know there was a goalkeeper on the show. I'm not doing the show.
Yeah, that's a problem for you. You're gonna have
There's a reason why
tough it out.
goalkeepers stay in rooms by themselves.
Tough it out. Tough it out. Coming up on this show, Michael Parkhurst is going to talk a little bit about his 5th MLS Cup. Will this finally be the time he lifts the cup? We got the tail of the tape continuing. Attack versus midfield after Tata Martino got the nod yesterday on the coaching side. We're going to answer your questions. Hit us on Twitter, ASAP for those. And we're going to take a first look at Greg Berhalter's tactics. We sent him to the board with Bobby and Doyle to see what's going down. But this day was all about one thing in Atlanta. That was the press conference. Both teams taken to the dais. Here's what they had to say.
What I can say is that this final brings some interesting components that are very different than others, and that can make this final be very unique. How many people are going to be in the stadium, in a stadium that is beautiful, is unique, has an acoustic that is amazing, that is going to bring a level of energy that probably hasn't been shown before in a final.
For such a young club to be able to host an MLS Cup, for our fans who we talk about a lot and what they bring to the team and what they bring on a weekly basis in terms of atmosphere and environment at the stadium. It's so awesome that we've got the opportunity to play in front of them, on the biggest stage in MLS.
La recompensa que hemos tenido de jugar esta final.
Yeah, we're anxious to have this game here in front of our home fans. I think it's the reward for these 2 years of hard work that the team has put in, that now we're able to host this final, and the most important thing is that we're doing it in front of our home fans.
Taylor, you were a part of the previous record breaker as far as crowds go for MLS Cups. That's going to be broken on Saturday.
Goodness,
we
one
know
of them
that.
is.
70,000 plus will be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What are these games like? What's it going to be like when you take the field in front of that crowd with this on the line? What's the electricity feel like?
That electricity is going to be exponentially different than what we had in 2002, because you could probably say 55 of the 62,000 had never been to a soccer game before because of the way they reacted in Saul games and the way the game played out. This group of Atlanta fans in the city, they're educated, they're well versed in fandom, they know exactly what they're doing. It's going to give the players that extra 15 to 20% that you're often looking for in this game. It's going to be different. That crowd, that video you're seeing there, RFK, where we played the Houston Dynamo 2007, that had some real electricity in an old building. But I think tomorrow, I think Saturday, what we see will be first of its kind in MLS.
What's this week like for players, Calen? The Portland Timbers arrived late last night after traveling cross country. There's a lot of distractions. There are parties, there are charity events, there's a lot of people pulling at you. How do you deal with it?
You have to get the little things right, so you get your tickets set aside. You give them, I gave it to one of my buddies to handle and was like, look, I don't even want to deal with this. I had about 30 people come down from the Bay Area. Doyle, this was before I joined your entourage.
30 people?
I had 30 people, I had a good crew.
That's good, dude.
Light in the pocketbook, too, after that. But I don't make enough for this. We got to win now. But I think this is, they've got to manage all those little things, and part of it is the emotions of it all as well. And the second time around, I think we got to handle it a lot better. I got a good night's sleep. The first time I woke up at like 6 a.m. and it was just jacked from the beginning. So you got to manage your emotions throughout the day.
The one hardest thing that's going to happen, honestly, Saturday, is if this game goes to halftime 0-0, the anxiety of 70,000 then plays a factor in this. That's the one Atlanta's got to be
especially
careful
with their history.
Agreed.
In that town is not obviously not just soccer, but literally everything. Going back almost 40 years, the only thing they've won, the Braves won one World Series, and we've seen the heartbreak for the Falcons. We know the Hawks have never really done it in the NBA. The Thrashers, they came, they went, and Atlanta United, they have a chance, and we talked about this on Extra Time Radio. They're kind of the team that knits the whole community together.
Yes,
everybody else, they maybe pulled from Georgia Tech versus Georgia or other stuff like that. Everybody in Atlanta seems to root for Atlanta United, and I agree. 0-0 at halftime, especially against a team like the Timbers who are just completely opportunistic. That's dangerous.
The first 25, it works in your favor.
Yeah.
The middle 25 to middle 30, if it's not, that actually works against you.
Start feeling something in your gut. Another thing we talked about Extra Time Radio, how maybe Atlanta fans don't need to suffer anymore. If their attack comes through, they won't. They got the edge on the coaching side. Atlanta United and Tata Martino, 2 out of 3 categories yesterday from our panel. Now it's time to take a look at the sexier side. That is the attacks. I've sent you guys to the board. Take me through it.
I thought when you said sexier side, you just meant us getting up there.
No, I didn't.
Nice
I
cardigan sweater I've got. Thank you, Bobby Warshaw.
2 amazing attacks headed by each team's respective number 10. Diego Valeri on one side, Miguel Almiron on the other, but both are so much more than that. And a lot of the play for Portland lately has come from the young center forward, Jeremy Ebobisse. And this is kind of the ideal goal for them. You win the ball at central midfield, and then you go.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about Ebobisse's play is he's much more comfortable, Doyle, and I've read a lot of your columns on this, with link-up play and trying to be a part in possession. But this goal you're showing here actually is what he's not very comfortable with. And quite honestly, if he can stretch the back line, and this is against FC Dallas, he actually scored a goal against Seattle in Leg 1 very similarly where he's running off the back shoulder. Remember, it's Michael Parkhurst and more than likely Jeff Larentowicz. They're not that quick.
Right.
So if Ebobisse can give you that element, it's going to open up Valeri and Blanco underneath.
Yeah, he usually plays in front of the defenders. In this game, he's got to a little bit get into space.
His touch
behind
has to
them.
be better than it was against Lake 2
Absolutely.
against Sporting Kansas City.
One guy who's always playing behind the defenders, Joseph Martinez, set all kinds of records the last 2 years for total goals. And he just always knows where the offside line is, and his teammates, they know where he is. He makes the right runs.
And he's always playing off the last shoulder of the defender. He's always looking for that little half a yard. But the most important part of this play is not Joseph Martinez, who scored over 30 goals in playoffs and in the regular season. It's actually Eric Remedi. And remember, in the Red Bulls series, Jeff Larentowicz stepped in. Someone from Atlanta United, other than their front 3 or 4 attacking players, has to take the burden off if you're going against a low block of 6-7 defenders. Remedi, Larentowicz, Nagbe, maybe even at times, it could be Gressel and even Michael Parkhurst. If that happens, Martinez off the back shoulder, good luck if you're Liam Ridgewell.
Yeah, and that's the danger of staying in a low block, really a purely defensive shape if you're Portland. Sometimes you don't get enough pressure to the service at central midfield. If that happens, guys, the Timbers are in trouble.
How long have you owned that blazer? 2 weeks? 3
Maybe
weeks?
3.
Hey, that looks like it has
Actually,
a nice.
I still.
Guys, I heard you talking about Obobisi, and I love Jeremy Obobisi. Where's the Blanco? Where's the Valeri discussion in there? Where's the Dairon Esprio discussion right now? You have to include the bigger part, I feel like, and those two guys, they're the ones that are going to be leading. Obobisi will play the hold-up, but that's
yeah, but if Obobisi has very few touches with his back to goal, look at the first half against Sporting Kansas City. Every touch was 5-6 yards away from him. Then Blanco and Valeri have no continuation into the final third. I personally believe Andy Polo is the key to this because for Peru, he's more of an out-and-out winger. He actually plays in the attack. Savarese likes him right to the right shoulder more often than not, of close to Diego Chara. If he bridges out a little bit and Obobisi has a clean first touch, they can catch you on the break. But if Obobisi's not involved, I don't care what we talk about here, Valeri and Blanco are going to have a different.
But Obobisi has to make them worry about him because
Agreed.
if they don't, then Blanco's not an attacker. We're not talking about him in this segment at all because Blanco has to come back and just help man the midfield. And if he's doing that, then it's 1 versus 4 all night.
Calen knows this, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot comparing you to Diego Valeri, but you weren't one that played with your back to goal. If your guy up front that's good holding the ball, bringing in the players, it opens up space from you coming out of the midfield.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Brian Ching was the best at that. You know,
Amen.
a guy that could hold the ball in position. But I really like Obobisi, and I think what he's been able to do is add these little elements to his game that I didn't see him have earlier in his career. And he's still very early, only 21 years old. But just a little hold-up play, his balance, his understanding of space. He had the little flick through to Valeri, too, with his feet. And then when you can add that stretching in behind, because it's not necessarily whether he gets the ball. It's creating space for the rest of his team.
Not to talk bad, but remember last year's MLS Cup? How bad was Will Bruin's first touch?
Yeah.
Right? And so that threw Seattle for melee because you're on the road. You need to take pressure off. I'm not saying Obobisi needs to stand there for 90 minutes with his back against the wall. He doesn't. He needs to do that. But if his first touch is not on point, then everything else is helter-skelter and you're defending for 90 minutes. Good luck in Atlanta doing that.
Sounds like that's the first domino. I'm going to ask you to skip ahead all the dominoes. Who gets the check mark here? Which attack is better? You've been absorbing what they've been saying, Calen. Where are you voting?
They made a compelling case for Portland, but it's Atlanta United, and it's a pretty easy answer. Just because you have the all-time leading goal scorer here in Martinez, and then you add Almiron to the mix, and then when you actually add the substitutions, which we talked a little bit last night with Tito Villalba, it's heavy on the Atlanta United side. I think there's an argument elsewhere on the field, but
We're
up
just
top.
talking attack, right?
We're just talking attack.
Julian Gressel plays a huge part in the attack.
True.
We'll get into the midfield.
So does that mean you're going Atlanta here?
Atlanta for the attack, 100%.
Okay. Is it a clean sweep?
I mean, they scored 70 goals this year. They scored 70 goals last year. 69 points this year. A really nice season. It's Atlanta United.
Give me that check mark. That's 2-0 Atlanta over the Portland Timbers right now. Timbers don't care about that, though. They'll have it
What do you
done.
mean? Mara Paulson's going to show this right
I
now
don't
at
know.
the
Mara
team
Paulson
dinner.
might have
You know
something
he's
to
going
say
to.
about this. You're right about that. Somebody who has a lot to think about this week is Michael Parkhurst. 4 losses in MLS Cup. This is his 5th crack at it. Jillian Sakovits tracked that story down today at the training facility.
Very few players in Major League Soccer have the experience that Atlanta United captain Michael Parkhurst does. Saturday is going to mark his 5th career MLS Cup final appearance, but he still finds himself in search of that elusive Cup title.
Yeah, Julian Gressel made a good point earlier in the week. He said, we've been listening to Parky's advice up to this point, but I don't think that we should listen to his advice this week. Okay. He's probably right there. But the advice was to try and get all the distracting things done early in the week, the tickets, the accommodations, all that stuff. But once the game starts, we'll have a couple of messages for the team. But really to just enjoy the week, enjoy the opportunity that we've got in front of us.
Parkhurst, the 2005 Rookie of the Year, began his career with the New England Revolution, where he, alongside Jeff Larenowitz, made it to 3 straight MLS Cups, all of which ended in disappointment. His most recent final was 2015. Parkhurst, part of the Columbus Crew, tabbed with defending his now teammate Darlington Nagbe, who at the time was with the champions, the Portland Timbers.
I remember he played a big role in the ball being out of bounds and continuing on playing. We've joked about that since. Darlington's a player that sometimes if you don't watch him specifically, you might not notice him. But he's so valuable to every team that he's on.
Honestly, he surprised me the most. Obviously, I knew he was a great player, but getting a chance to play with him, he's just so solid defensively as well. It's the way he sees the game and he reads the game. I'm having fun playing with him.
And good news for Atlanta United fans. After limited training to start the week due to an ankle injury, Michael Parkhurst has been training fully with the team, and he says he is 100% ready to go for Saturday.
Yeah, he is. He was lifting that trophy after the Eastern Conference Championship with some real vigor. MLS Cup is not a place that he's had success. 05, 06, 07, 2015. You were with him, Taylor, for those first 3 years. He did get an Open Cup. Got a couple Danish Cups. Those are good, but it eludes him.
Superliga.
Thank you. Yeah. Why is Superliga's not on there either? Come on.
Oh, that's a big one. We got to get that in the graphic, maybe not.
I lost the Superliga final too. I don't want to talk about it.
Let's bring this.
What's this? Why are they putting the MLS Cups on the side?
Yeah, this is awesome. This is good.
Oh, boy.
No, this is fun.
I feel like the worst way to lose an MLS Cup is on a Pando Ramirez banger. Woo!
No comment.
I mean,
on that,
I watched all the
Where's
highlights.
Pando now?
I watched all the highlights of these games. Gut punch after gut punch after gut punch.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys lost in the most just awful
First
ways
off,
possible.
in 05 we lost to a golden goal, and then 06 we scored, but it didn't, and then 38 seconds later Brian Ching scores, and then we miss on a penalty. And then 07 we play arguably the best final we've ever played. Calen, that is in your night.
That's cool,
that's the guy you really hate.
No way a guy who looks like that should ever win MLS Cup.
I agree. Seriously.
And you got the early goal, but then second half.
Look at this goal.
Let's go, Joe.
When you like Matt Reese, that never happens to Matt Reese, and then the header here, it is what it is. But Houston in those two finals, enough wasn't given credit to Dominic Kinnear, because tactically he made two changes in both finals that threw us for a loop in the second half, and it worked to his favor. But the reality is, Michael Parkhurst is trying to avoid being in that group of four of us or five of us.
I remember when Parkhurst left Columbus, and a lot of people said, I don't know, maybe this is the end for him. Maybe he doesn't have what it takes again to get back to this level, to get back to this stage. Well, he's back. He's one of the best defenders in the league. Maybe the respect just wasn't there all along. I don't know.
I've seen this happen time and time again, especially with American center backs. You know, Bobby Boswell is another name that pops up to me as a guy that was sort of left for dead multiple times, and then somehow you're like, how does this guy keep winning? You know, and Michael Parkhurst is right in there, probably one of the top 5 center backs all time in MLS. But you know, getting this trophy would help him take it to that next level as far as perception goes.
I think one of the smartest things Atlanta United did was get guys like Parkhurst and Lorenowitz who have been there and done that. And granted, none of it happens without Joseph and Almiron and Villalba and all the money they spent and all the talent they brought in from South America. But having those steady hands, one in midfield, one on the back line, though I guess Lorenowitz would probably play on the back line in this one, I think it set the tone for the team, and it made sure not necessarily that their ceiling was super high, but that their floor was high.
But it also showed the synergy between top to bottom in the organization, because they knew that Tata Martino wanted a center back that could play a ball and be very comfortable with the ball at his feet.
And that's what's been interesting about these playoffs, though.
Exactly.
They haven't really cared about that.
No.
49% completion percentage against the Red Bulls in the second leg. They're fine with that in this one. This one's going to be so much different, though.
Gonzalez Perez will get a lot of the headlines, but if you look at MLS Cup champions before, Drew Moore, Chad Marshall, these rocks of center backs, American center backs still leading the way towards MLS Cups.
Let's take a look at the last 5 MLS Cup champions. Here you have it. Sporting Kansas City, Beasler, Aurelian Calen at that time, LA Galaxy, Omar Gonzalez, AJ De La Garza, Portland Timbers. You had Ridgewell, who had come in to kind of steady that line.
Nat Borchers.
Yeah,
Nat Borchers was a guy who was organizing everything. Obviously, the Sounders had Chad Marshall and Roman Torres, Toronto FC, as you mentioned, Calen. It was Drew Moore as the traffic cop. And that's what Parkhurst has to be. But as you said, when you were looking at those highlights from 2007, and I am sorry to bring this up again.
I don't care.
Matt Reese doesn't.
I've owned it.
Yeah, Matt Reese doesn't make a mistake like that ever. And that's the thing. In cup games, weird stuff happens, man.
Weird stuff happens, but I will say this. In the 3 cups that we lost with New England, Michael Parkhurst didn't make a single mistake.
Hey, speaking of weird stuff, on this day, 2015, what are you doing?
By the way, the best part about this is when Portland signed Steve Clark this year, they welcomed back an ex-Timbers. They welcomed back in the locker room. They said, welcome back, and he embraced it. That's good banter, people.
And we didn't see here, but there was a little controversy.
The ball was out of bounds.
The ball was out of bounds. They just kept playing. Rodney Wallace is at the back post saying, thank you very much on the road, getting that dub.
Goal's a goal, dude.
Count him. He enjoyed it. And look, they got one back, but it wasn't to be for the Columbus Crew. Got big news for them, by the way, coming up a little bit later in the show. Kai Kamara had such a big season. Greg Berhalter, the forward whisperer, did the business with him. We'll see what happens, though, come Saturday. Who will lift that cup? Who will get the trophy hoist? Who will get the shower in confetti? Pre-game show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, MLS channels. Special guests, interviews, the lineups, everything you need to know. Speaking of special guests, Luis Robles is going to be here tomorrow night, right at this very desk, sharing it with Taylor Twellman. 7 p.m. Eastern, MLS channels. Tune in to that one as well. Some special news for you guys, or I should say a special feature here. Greg Berhalter stopped by this very studio the day he was introduced to the media. He got in front of our board with Bobby and Doyle, and he gave us just a little hint of what we'll see next Tuesday when the full video comes out.
Why is that? Walk us through this idea of starting from the goalie, having the ball, and disorganizing the opponents to go score.
So it's basically about just creating positional advantages, right? So if a normal team presses with 2 and you're building with 3, right now you have an advantage, a positional advantage here. You have 3 against their 2. When you're tucking wingers in, right? For example, if they're playing with 2 in central midfield now, by tucking one winger in, again, we have a positional advantage in the middle. So we're always trying to create positional advantages against the opponent.
Let me ask you about this pass right here, this pass right here. That's the pass that I think a lot of people associate with the Columbus Crew and what you guys did. What is it about that pass that became so intrinsic to what you guys did?
Yeah, I want to know about that pass from Arturo Trapp to the fullbacks too, but we can't tell you right now. The full interview comes out on December 13th. Right now, though, Extra Time Radio has a 1v1 with Greg Berhalter. Plus, we've got a studio sit-down with the new U.S. national team head coach. He is ambitious in the way that he wants to play. He says he's a little bit romantic. Sometimes the international game does not lend itself to romanticism. Does he have the squad to get this done, Taylor?
That's a good question. I don't know that yet. I think the jury's still out. I think Greg Berhalter, the evolution of Greg Berhalter that I've seen over the last 3 years is that he is very good at recognizing where he's made a mistake and tried to fix that mistake. I thought the interview with you guys was very well done because I thought he was very forthcoming, more so than I would thought for an opening day, an announcement or whatnot. And he said, for his words, romantically how he looks at the game. My question is, though, romantically you can look at the game one way. But when it's rained for 7 weeks and you're in Guatemala and the grass is up to the middle of your shins and you want your fullbacks to push wide and push as high up the field and you can't kick the ball from here to there, he used the word with you guys on Extra Time Radio. Flexibility. Does he have the flexibility within the roster to be able to change that? I'm not totally sold on the pool of players. I know you disagree with me, but I am not sold on the pool of players right now to get that job done, and he's got to get that job done fairly quickly.
Right now is tough because so much of the pool is so young. And there are very few, it's been covered ad nauseum, there are very few guys from those 90 to 95 birth years, 90 to 94, I guess, birth years, who have come good, who have been high-level, high-caliber pros. But if you look beyond that, 95 to 2000, Christian Pulisic is obviously the one, starting for a Borussia Dortmund team that started to run away with the Bundesliga at age 20. Rustin McKennie starting for a Champions League team at age 20. Tyler Adams is probably going to start for RB Leipzig team that is a top 3 team in Germany. I think if you look at what has happened at the U20 level, and you look at the teams that are suddenly taking an interest in all these American...
But does that translate, though? Like, your tweet is spot on to how many players after McKennie have been in Europe, the way the scouts had told me McKennie signed it, and your tweet's spot on. But there's one thing about potential, there's another thing about results.
You're absolutely right.
How often is under 20 potential turned into results?
You're absolutely right, and that's what's good about where we are right now in terms of development, because we've had an unprecedented run of results over the last 3 cycles. 2015, 2017, both made the Youth World Cup quarterfinals. 2017, 2019, both beat Mexico to become back-to-back champions of CONCACAF. That's never happened before for the U.S. And I agree, there's not enough guys right now starting, even in MLS. MLS teams have got to be better at this. There's not enough starting, but it's all about getting as many dice rolls as possible. And I think if you look at the kids, at the potential of these kids out there, I just like our chances for the next 4 years, and especially for the next 8.
This is the debate. This is the debate we'll be having all the way until that Panama game and far, far beyond. There's been some debate about what might happen to the Columbus Crew. Well, that's starting to come into focus, and yeah, it's beautiful.
You love your renderings.
I love a rendering. I do love a good rendering, and these are beautiful. These are proposed plans for a stadium in the arena district
That will be
in
a
Columbus.
wall of sound. That will be a wall of sound if they get it built.
Oh, it's going to be so good. By the way, there is some other news. Zach Steffen, he may be moving to Manchester City. I spoke to him tonight. He says he is ready to move to Europe. It is his time. He has passed that Freiburg experience. He wants to push himself. Ivis Galarcep at Goal.com is saying this is a done deal. We'll see what happens. Is this a good move for Zach Steffen? What do you think, Calen?
Absolutely. And first of all, you'll probably get a nice little pay raise, which will help as well. But I think, look, I went over to England earlier this year, and I spoke with their executive at Man City, Brian Marwood, and he was able to name 7-8 academy players for NYCFC. So, look, they are mining MLS, not just within NYCFC. They are going throughout the league, looking at the best talent, and Zach Steffen is right up there with the top.
It's his job if he wants it. It's his job, but he's got to clean it up a little bit. He's got still a few flaws in his game, but Zach Steffen, the ceiling is as high as it wants to be for him. He reminds me eerily of a former teammate of mine in Tim Howard at that same age when he went to Manchester United. But Zach Steffen needs games. And the most important thing to look at this deal is, okay, you can go to Man City and train at that level. There's some high level there and there's some quality there. But if he's not getting games, he's in the same spot he was at Freiburg, and he's got to find a way. Don't be shocked if Columbus Crew loan in 19 is part of that equation.
Ooh, very, very interesting. We got your fan questions coming up right now. This is a little similar to what we've been talking about with Zach Steffen and these U20 players in the national team. Taylor, Calen, Matt, what young Americans will break through in MLS next season? Who do you have your eye on, Matt?
Jackson Yule. I thought he played great down the stretch for your old teammate, Steve Ralston in San Jose. From what I've heard, Matias Almeida likes him and is planning to give a chance to a lot of the young guys on that team. Something clicked for him under Ralston. He started caring about defense again. And when you're that good on the ball and you care about defense,
he's extremely gifted.
He hit some passes I don't think a lot of guys in the pool can hit.
Paxton Pomykal, I'm going to throw that one out there. Wants some playing time. We'll see what happens for him at FC Dallas. Don't know that head coach just yet.
Especially if Tab takes that job. That's an interesting part for
Again,
Paxton,
listen
right?
to Extra Time Radio. Got a good stuff on that as well. When will the academy system start producing more homegrown talent that leads to American stars in MLS?
Isn't that already happening? I mean, Tyler Adams is a perfect example of a guy who's followed exactly that path. And look, when I first started in MLS, Taylor, this was not happening at all, right? So we still have to remember this is a very young program, but when you see the success of the Red Bulls going through and moving on from some older players, and then just within a matter of 2 years, seeing Tyler Adams not just develop into a starter, but a star, and then moving abroad, I think this is well on its way.
We're seeing teams learn those lessons. Weston McKennie was an FC Dallas kid a couple years ago, and they didn't sign him. They just created their USL team today, and the first thing they did was
sign a 15-year-old kid.
Sign their star academy.
There you go. There you go. Is it time for MLS Cup to go back to it? No. I don't, unequivocally,
Never,
no.
ever.
No.
It is so much better at that home stadium. You earn that right. Here's the question, though. When you're at home, how much pressure is on Atlanta to win? Because they're at home in the final, because they're losing key pieces. Tata, Miggy. Pressure is high.
All of it. I think all of the pressure is on Atlanta United. Look, there's pressure anytime you play in a game, but the pressure is on Atlanta because they're going to be losing pieces next season. And yes, you can say they may bring in P.T. Martinez, but things are not guaranteed, right? You look at that Columbus team, you thought that they were going to be destined for success. The next year, Greg Berhalter mentioned it in his interview, didn't happen the next year, right? And we say it with Toronto FC. We thought they would be fine for years to come. So losing the manager is going to be a big question.
It means a lot to Tata. The last time I sat with him, he just said, I want to leave here with something. And remember, big games have been a struggle for him in closing the deal, whether it's penalties or whatever it may be. It's been a struggle for. He wants to leave on the right note, and hoisting a trophy is exactly.
You can point to that Toronto game for that as well. They had the opportunity to get the shield. What's this?
That's
the victory log.
Honestly, if I'm a Timbers player and they're not letting that log into the stadium, I am riding around on that thing, taking victory laps around Mercedes-Benz Stadium after the game. The most epic celebration in MLS history. If the Timbers win, I expect them to do that.
Oh, I thought you meant today.
No,
do that Thursday.
Yeah, it's like a sawhorse. Our own David Goss might have ridden the log. We're not sure. He's got a plum assignment, though, out in Atlanta.
Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. Just hanging out on my new whip. It's pretty impressive. Come check it out. Even got a victory log in the back.
Yeah, what's up? This is David Goss. This is a 10-4. Roger, can you come in?
Portland Timbers shirt, Atlanta United scarf. Who are you and what's going on right now?
I'm Troy Harris. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and have just been drawn up by Atlanta and this team. But I built my soccer roots in Portland, grew up in Portland, been a fan since 1976. I got pictures with my grandmother with little Timber jerseys on and everything like that. And when I saw that the blessing of the login, that they were sending it here to Atlanta, I was like, I got to find out where that is, and I got to meet Joey.
Tearing down the left wing. I'm ready to put in a cross. Please, someone, do you read? Do you copy?
Well, I'm with the one, the only, the legend, Timber Joey here at Pond City Market. You're reunited with Victory Log.
Yeah.
Does it feel like a piece of your heart's back?
Yeah, I'm back together. I'm whole again.
And how odd is it being in a different city with, we're calling it Vic?
Yeah. BL for short, No, it feels good. It's, Doug Fur's not really common around here, so.
Extra Time Radio, what would be our payload? What would we carry? I think it would just be flaming hot air for all of the takes that Bobby Warshaw lets out. Yes, Bobby, you are a take master. They are takes, whether you think so or not.
Roger that. I've got takes coming down the street. Coming in hot.
Don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that.
Hashtag ride the log.
Ride the log.
Don't ever do that again.
Bobby Warshaw does have some takes, so I will applaud him on that one. He's not here to help us, though. Go through the tail of the tape. On the midfield, let's start with Atlanta United. Who is going to get this check mark? Last year, I think it was a clean sweep for Toronto FC. If I remember correctly, I think it was a clean sweep. What do you make of Atlanta's midfield, though, Doyle?
They're versatile, and one of the things about them is they played a bunch of different formations all year long, and no matter what one it is, they've been able to get guys forward. And right there, it was central midfielder Julian Gressel getting out to the wing and creating width and penetration, and then it was a wing back coming up. So whether you consider it a 5-3-2, a 3-5-2, it doesn't matter.
You're 100% right.
They're so good in whatever formation they played.
And the two players you picked on your description right there, I think it's arguably the most important matchup, is which player between Remedi and Chara has a bigger game.
Yeah.
And that said player, if Diego Chara is the man of the match, you've got a real good argument that Miguel Almiron probably didn't have a great game, right? But if Diego Chara is chasing shadows and trying to cover Guzman and trying to cover Liam Ridgewell and Tui Loma next to him and trying to provide that balance to Valentin or Powell out wide, I look at Remedi being a huge part, and he's not going to get any of the credit, but him sitting in front of the back three, back five, I don't care what you call it, he's been massive for Atlanta United.
He's been big, Taylor, but not as big as Chara for me. I think he's been criminally underrated for the longest time in MLS.
Calen, he's never been an all-star in MLS. No, guys,
hey, but he is Extra Time Radio's Defensive Midfielder of the Year.
But Calen, I'm sorry to jump. No. Think of that, Diego. That's the coaches that picked that game.
Is this play right here?
He's never been an all-star. That's criminal to me. Sorry, Calen.
No, and when he went out last year in the playoffs, you have to remember that's when their season ended. So he's been and when they won the championship, he's been a big part of it. So, look, I think you can say we've gone over and said maybe the coach will give Tata the edge, and then you go into the attack. But I think midfield is the strongest part.
Is Valeri in the midfield for you to?
Well, if you count him there, yeah, I would say as well, and that completely overbalances. But I'd say even without it, I'm giving the edge based on Diego Chara.
All right. Portland Timbers, we have one vote. We have 3 voters. We got to break this.
I'm going with Atlanta because of the flexibility. I think you're right. Diego Chara might end up being the best player on the field, but Portland really have shown they can only do it one way. And with Atlanta, with this game, you could see them start in a 5-3-2. That could be a 4-3-3 inside of 10 minutes because they have so much flexibility in that midfield. They have so many different ways to play.
I want to build the narrative so badly of Atlanta United being the prohibitive favorite, but I'm going to just throw a bone to Calen, and I'm going to take Portland.
Why? Why? Not just because of the bone. There's got to be something there to it.
Doyle didn't tuck in his shirt, and I don't want to. No, in all seriousness, I think Diego Chara is massive, and because you're counting Valeri in the midfield, I'm going to get that. For me, I'll do the same. I'm going to give it to Portland.
Okay, there you have it. Atlanta.
Deep down, I
thought
really
they had the clean sweep going.
I don't want to.
Not
Portland.
to be Diego
I don't want
Chara.
to, Portland.
You've seen those splits, though. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He plays, they win. He doesn't play, they don't win.
Shocking.
He is playing in this game.
No All-Star, though.
Yeah. We will
We'd rather have MLS Cup, you know.
When was the last time a D-mid made the best 11? I think it was 2015.
Wait, we do know that defensive players don't really make best 11s, correct?
Yeah.
Here we go. Sorry.
2 attackers and a couple guys trying to
best
keep
11
these 2
this
at
year
bay.
have 9 forward.
That's it from us. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Thursday night.
I'm back tomorrow, unfortunately.
He's not there.
Ride the log.
Saturday.
That will be your best show
p.m.
then.
Eastern. Mercedes-Benz Stadium inside the building ahead of MLS Cup, lineups, special guests, all the news you need to know ahead of the biggest game of the season. And of course, we finish it off from New York City tomorrow with Luis Robles, 7 p.m. Eastern, MLS Cup Central, leading you in to the 23rd MLS Cup Philip F. Anschutz Trophy on the line for our producer, Chris Karen, Taylor Twellman, Calen Carr, Matt Doyle, everybody behind the cameras and in the control room. I'm Andrew Wiebe. See you later, everybody.
Thanks, Taylor.